All right, what's going on, boys? It's Daddy Big here, and today I have kind of an interesting concept. I want to talk about how I think that I was stupid the 5 years ago. It's just an arbitrary time I pick for the title's sake, but I want to explain why I think that's actually a good thing. So here's the thing, right? I I used I think I used to be stupid, right? You know what I mean? It's like I was just looking back on some stuff from, some stuff I worked on a long time ago. And one kicker for me that always kind of gets me is looking back on old lyrics used to write. Because for those of you who don't know, I am I'm not just a gamer. I'm a musician, and yeah, my music channel is actually linked on the channel right here. But back in the day, looking back on like when I first started writing, like sixth, seventh grade, like just the lyrics were so bad and like just like absolutely embarrassing stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like looking back on that, it's like wow, how how is it possible that like I ever wrote something this awful? Like the rhymes were predictable and cheesy, and like the flow was bad, and just like all that stuff. And just like that's the kind of stuff that like that's what you look back on and like wow that sucks, and that's personal because like music is something I obviously am taking seriously. And then another thing around the same time is that I was just kind of cringe. You know what I mean? I remember back in sixth grade I thought that the B movie was just about the funniest thing of all time, and it's just man, crazy times. But another one is way back in my sophomore year of high school. Um, I would I just kind of had this thing, this itch, and it was like just kind of not liking the system of like the American education system a lot, just not liking the system and just wanting to like not be confined to it. You know what I mean? I think one thing is like in particular, I butted heads with teachers a lot. I think some of them ended up not liking me that much just because I had my way of thinking and my way of doing things, and it just I just I've always I've had trouble in classrooms for my whole life, and that's probably a discussion for another video. But it's like on that whole topic, it's like yeah, I get where I was coming from back then, but it's just looking back now, it's like I did some things that were just like to me now it's like doesn't seem responsible, doesn't seem reasonable, not worth the effort. It's like my whole point was that I didn't just want to bow my head and just be another blank slate, but it's like I don't know, you have to pick your battles. You know what I'm saying? So like all of those examples aside, from the lyrics to just being cringe to just going through those phases and stuff, it's like well the thing that the thing is kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, I guess you could say, is just thinking about like how much better I am now. You know what I mean? Like at this point, I'm making music that I'm actually proud of. You know what I'm saying? I'm not at the point where everything I do I think is bad. Everything I do I look on I'm like, yeah. But like nowadays I'm writing stuff that I think is good. You know what I mean? And I think that someday I'll be proud of. And then as far as the the cringe from middle school goes, I would say, I've grown out of the awkward phases, you know. And then as far as, that whole, having my knickers in a twist about public education, I would say that, I still have my opinions on stuff and I still have my thoughts and still want stuff to be better, still don't want to be confined and all of that. But I can just approach it in a more mature and refined way, you know what I mean? And it's like just thinking about all that, thinking about how I've improved as a person, you know? And that's kind of really the point I'm getting at. You know what I mean? Like looking back on myself when I was younger, it's like I did some dumb stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like I'm not always very proud of all of it. You know what I mean? But it's like that's the thing is we have to learn from the past. You know what I mean? And that's what's important is that now that I know I'm past certain things and I've gotten better, it's like that's really what matters. You know what I mean? Because I'm one for trying to live in the moment as best I can. The past is gone and the future's incomprehensible. I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. So it's like just thinking about that, you know what I mean? Cuz I mean, it's just like looking back on my past, it's almost like some things it's just like telling stories about a different person, It's hard to believe I was even there in some of those moments. But that's really, to me, that's what all of it's about. You know what I'm saying? Just taking that step back and realizing where you've been. And I think that examining the past is really important in being grateful and, realizing where you're at. Because when you're living in the moment like that, there's always that risk. There's that possibility that, you're always going to be seeking the next milestone, the next big thing. You're always going to be worried about where you're going. But it's only when you take a step back and look at where you've been that you realize how far you've come. And I think that's something really important. I mean, whether it's, improving at your songwriting or, just maturing, learning how to handle things better. Any of those things is just, it's all about, I mean, like right now, thinking about it, it's like, I'm happy with where I am right now, you know what I mean? And I can only realize that because I've thought about where I've been, you know? If I didn't consider the past, I would only be focused on what I can't do. You know what I mean? Like, I only have 2 videos up on my music channel, and there's so many I wish I could make. I wish I was good enough to make the perfect videos I'm thinking of, you know? But if I think about that too much, think about what's next, what I could be doing, it's hard to think about what you've done. And that's just something that's really important. And I think that talking about the past, probably the most difficult thing for me is just, and I think this is really important too, it's just respecting the past and respecting who you were. You know what I mean? Because I'm at a point right now where I want, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, I want to look back at me right now and be proud. I want to be proud of who I was and what I stood for. You know what I mean? And I mean, that's really what we can all hope for, right? To be proud of where we've been. But, here's the thing is like 5-10 years ago, I remember thinking, someday I'm going to be proud of this. And it's like, yeah, some things I am proud of. But, some things it's just, that's just the hard part. You know what I mean? Realizing that, you were where you were and respecting that. And it's just being proud of your past self, or not even proud, just having that respect for where you've been. I think that's really a big key to having confidence and loving yourself. You know what I mean? Because if you can't respect or love who you've been for years, I don't, that doesn't really create a solid path to love yourself moving forward. So, that's kind of, but part of the series of me talking about stuff is just, me getting these life thoughts out. And it's like, for me, I just want that for myself. I want to be able to respect who I was and who I am now, and continue to be someone that me and other people are going to be proud of in the future. And so yeah, I thought I was stupid 5 years ago, and that's a good thing, because that means we're in a better place now. I went to, one of my composition teachers from way back when once told me, if your style hasn't changed in 5 years, if you don't kind of hate the music you wrote back then, that's probably a bad thing, because that means you haven't gotten anywhere. And I just think that's important, just looking back to the past to realize where you are now. So that was that was kind of just, all came out at once. I just kind of wanted to talk about that. But yeah, I just think it's important, I hope all of you also thought that you were stupid in the past. You know what I'm saying? But in any case, I'll see you guys later.